Bobby Orr right here with the same photo that is the statue outside the building in Boston now. Bobby, welcome to the program. Nice to see you.
Nice being with you.
My pleasure. It's an honor to have you here. What made you finally, I know how you're a humble, quiet, great player. What made you finally decide to do a book?
Well, I've been approached many times about doing a book, and I just felt it was time. I didn't want to do a book unless it was clear in my mind that whoever might read it might get something from it. So that was number one. I thought it was time to talk about the people that helped me along the way, how I reached my goals. I think there's a little bit in the book for that young man that thinks he's going to be a player.
Sure is.
I think there's a little bit in the book for that parent that thinks he's going to be a player.
And your thoughts about the league now, too, which is very constructive.
I talk about the league. Well, you know, those are my opinions on the league. Right. I didn't do this to say, oh, the league's going to change the rules. Right. It's just my thoughts. Because of injuries, we're always worried about the safety of our players. I mean, last Sunday I'm watching football in the NFL. That's our biggest concern, too.
No question.
Safety. So I write a little bit about that. I write a little bit about the people I've met along the way, people who have meant so much for me, and the support. Especially the support I received when things got a little tough for me, when I had to retire, and financially I was in a little bit of trouble.
Which you were very open about in the book, especially your relationship with Alan Eagleson, which had to be a tough one to talk about.
I didn't want to do it.
Right.
The publisher said, look, if you're going to write a book, you've got to say something.
Well, you were fair about it. Your treatment was fair.
I think I was. I mean, what the man did was disgusting.
Right.
Never mind what he did to me, what he did to so many other players, Mike. It was, I mean, everyone thinks in the charges against him, I'm in there. I'm not in there at all. One, I didn't want to see him. I didn't want to be near him. Two, I didn't have the money to hire a lawyer. And three, he's a very powerful man, and in Canada, it took the U.S. government almost 5 years to get him to come to the United States to face any kind of a charge, and it was a deal. There was a deal made just to get him down there to face some charge.
And for you, it was betrayal, wasn't it? Because he was so,
like a brother.
You were so closely aligned. I mean, a lot of his success was built on his relationship with you.
He had a couple of players in Toronto at the time. I think Bobby Bond, Bobby Pulford, I believe. And I was his first young player. He was like a brother.
Right.
I was in Toronto last week doing a show, and they had a video of him saying how close we were and we were like brothers. So I trusted him. I depended on him to help me make the correct decisions. Over the years, I had many people come to me and say, watch this guy. I mean,
So you heard stuff.
I heard stuff, and hey,
that's your guy.
Don't try to drive a wedge between Al and me. He's my guy. But never mind me. From pension funds, from insurance fraud. I mean, what this man did.
And the cruelest part, Bobby, and we got some interesting thing we'll get through, because I really found the book fascinating and your story. But the one part that really stuck with me was not that you wound up broke because you were going to make money because you're Bobby Orr. You were going to land on your feet. I think that everyone knew that. I mean, I took that from reading it. The part that really got to me was when you left to go to the Blackhawks, which was very difficult for the city of Boston, okay? You go to the Blackhawks. You went there not knowing that you had been offered a piece of the Bruins to stay with Boston. He never told you that.
When the deal was made to go to Chicago, then I started hearing. And I was assured that, no, this is the best deal for you.
Right. That's what he told you, yeah.
And Mr. Wirtz was chairman of the board of the NHL, and, Al was supposed to be representing us, but he was very close to the owners and the chairman and all, all the rest. So, back then.
Shows you how relationships have changed with players, right? And you represent players, so you know it now. It's a different world. Players are protected now. They're much smarter now.
Well, they're protected, but they still have to pay attention.
Oh, no question. No question.
I didn't pay attention, Mike.
No one knew in those days. The money was just starting in those days, though.
But we hear every day, not only athletes, but financial people that are making bad decisions, stealing business people.
No question.
So it happens. And the big thing, pay attention. It's your money.
Yep.
You earned it. Pay attention. Ask questions. And if your financial advisor or your agent balks at you asking a question, that's a red flag.
But imagine a player being offered part of the franchise at that stage. You were a baby. You were a kid. You weren't even 30 years old at that time.
If you look at the value of that team today.
Oh, my God. They offered you a part of the team. I was like, wait a second. They offered him part of the franchise.
Well, back then, they didn't pay a whole lot for it. So if you go on those numbers.
But how about now? If you're sitting here as an owner, yes.
Yeah, you could have been working for me, Mike.
I would have liked to. It's funny. We're talking, of course, with Bobby Orr, who is, without question, transcends hockey, transcends sports, one of the greatest athletes in the history of sports. Up in Boston, where they have iconic figures, Ted Williams, Bill Russell, Yastrzemski, Larry Bird, go down the list. Who won the boat? You did. I mean, and that's quite a list. When I see a picture of you, Ted Williams, Larry Bird, Bill Russell, that's quite a group that you hang out with there, Bobby. You know that?
A great group. I know them all. I've spent a lot of time, probably most time, with Ted Williams, and we fish together. Ted loves my wife Peggy because she can fly fish, but I spent a lot of time with Ted, and he was the stories I hear that he was a rough, tough guy in the past.
You didn't see that stuff.
I didn't see that at all. The guy was a wonderful man. It was the best fisherman I've ever seen.
Yeah, and you're pretty good one yourself, right? You like to fish.
I love to fish. I'm not great, but I certainly love it. That's a great love for me.